Okay, Frederick Douglass. He's in our notes and we're gonna hear them, but there's a good quote there. Give them a bad master, he aspires to a good master. Give him a good master, and he wishes to become his own master. If slaves have it bad, they just want things to be better. If things are pretty good, they're like, how come I'm a slave? So there's a like what they call a catch-22 there, and it'd be tough for a lot of people to, you know, accept being a slave, especially if you were captured in Africa. You weren't born a slave. Some slaves were freed. So there's a thing on Liberia there, and again, I mentioned yesterday about George Washington, his will. Well, sometimes they could be freed through that. But daily, we have slaves who would work slow, careless. They might damage property, break tools. Right? Oops, my shovel broke. I can't dig ditches today. They might steal things, run away, pretend to be sick. Female complaints. One even pretended to be pregnant. Now that only works for a while. Then maybe you'll get in trouble for if you're lying. But people run away. And so here we have a reward poster for a slave that has run away. And these were very common in newspapers. And so what do? They try to go north if they can. And so you need to follow the North Star, which is in the Big Dipper, and the very famous Underground Railroad. We have Harriet Tubman pictured there. These slaves, they wanted to go north. They wanted to go to Canada. They wanted to get out of the United States. And if you guys have been following along with current events, Harriet Tubman, sometime maybe in the next 10 years, is going to be on the $20 bill. They're working on that. And then we've got some stuff here, some questions about Harriet Tubman. Hey, she's breaking the law technically by helping slaves run away, but it's doing bad things for a good reason. And then we have some songs here that they would sing, like "Go Down Moses" and "What's the Hidden Message in the song." And over on page 362, we've got two other songs, the same thing, "The Drinking Gourd," and so you guys can try to figure out those questions there. And then we're going to go into a story on Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass, his escape from slavery. He was actually a slave that could hire his own time. He was very unique. And that story runs over to page 364. There's also a story on 365 about running away, a guy who mailed himself, Henry Box Brown. We're going to watch a video on Frederick Douglass. You can write 10 facts on that. And just some other stuff about Frederick Douglass. He was the most photographed person of the 1800s. He was photographed 160 times. Now, some people do that trying to decide which selfie looks the best, 160. But back then, it was a long, laborious process. You've seen those pictures. Look at all these pictures where they just sit there stiff because they've got to wait so long for the exposure. And then Abraham Lincoln, he was photographed 126 times. Now, maybe if he'd lived longer, it might have been different. But Frederick Douglass, the most photographed person in the 1800s. And he gives a very famous speech in 1852, what to the slave is the 4th of July? Because if we're talking about independence, well, slaves aren't free. Okay? All right, so that's that, and we'll see you in week 8. Thanks.